Hello, my witchlets, and welcome to another edition of Kitchen Witchery and Other Spells. Today we are going to make pumpkin shortbread because I have a bunch of pumpkin puree remaining from when we did the pumpkin bisque. So we're going to use a quarter cup of that. So now I have a cup and a quarter remaining, so I still have some other things to figure out what to do with my pumpkin. But we're going to use a quarter cup of pumpkin, a cup of almond flour, a quarter cup plus 2 tablespoons of either powdered sugar, or if you're doing low carb like I am, I used the Swerve Confectioner's sugar. You'll need half a tablespoon of butter, which you'll want to cube. This is still kind of frozen, so I haven't cubed it yet. Then you'll need a teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cloves, nutmeg, and ginger. And we'll get all this started here in just a moment. Okay, one of the first things that this recipe wants us to do is it wants us to get as much of the moisture out of the pumpkin puree as we can. So if you're using canned puree, which is fine, it may take a little longer, it may take a little shorter. I don't know, because I don't know how moist canned puree is. So the goal is to be able to form this into a ball and pick the ball up with your hands. So obviously we are not there yet, because this is very not ready. Don't know how else to say that. So you're just gonna keep using paper towels and pressing your puree, trying not to make a mess like I am doing, but you still want to be able to press it together. I'm sure there's easier ways of doing this. I'm just, apparently not smart today, but that's okay. So like I said, you're going to want to keep pressing until all of your puree is as moisture free as you can get it. And then you're going to form it into a ball and be able to handle just the ball of puree. So once I get to that point, I will come back and we will move on to the next thing, which is going to be browning our butter. Okay, so here we are, and what we're going to do is we are going to brown our butter. So first of all, you want a medium saucepan that is heavy bottomed and light in color. So I'm using my ceramic saucepan here. And then you want your heat to be at medium. And you're going to put your butter into your saucepan. And since I don't have salted butter, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of finely ground sea salt. Actually, I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon because I don't trust these measuring spoons. Okay, there we go. So roughly 1/2 teaspoon. This is shortbread that we're making after all, and it always tastes better with a little bit of extra salt. So, at least to me. You don't want to add too much, but different butter brands add different amounts of salt to their salted butter. So anywhere between a 1/4 teaspoon and a 1/2 teaspoon should be sufficient for 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter. So what you're going to do is you're going to melt this, not leave this unattended, and you're going to bring it to a simmer and cook it, swirling it around until it turns like a nutty brown color. So this could take some time. I will give you an estimate when we come back, because I would really rather not stand here and have to ramble while I'm trying to watch butter. I will say though that this, even though this isn't a recipe that's from the sewing book, pretty much this is something that you can use to celebrate sewing. There will be a recipe that I will do for soul bread. And soul bread is something that you can use if you plan on doing a dumb supper, which is where everyone sits around the table and eats their meal in complete silence. There is a space set up for ancestors, and you serve the food on that plate as you would if you were serving it to a living ancestor. And you just eat the meal in silence, listening and anticipating and feeling out anything that may decide to come and join you. I don't personally do dumb suppers because I can't be quiet. I talk a lot, especially over food. So I've got this heating up here, so we're gonna simmer this and bring this to a nice nutty brown color. So again, don't leave it unattended as you do this, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, as you can see underneath the foam here, our butter is a nice brown color. I hope you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to add in our prepared puree, and we're gonna whisk this together. And you have to be careful because it will pop and explode and do stuff. But you want to whisk all of this together and make it smooth and incorporated. And then we'll get on to the next part. So I'll go ahead and reframe and talk to you in a minute. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna combine all of our dry ingredients into a semi-large bowl here. So we've got our cup of flour, our 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar, our teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of clove, 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger. Probably should have stated somewhere in all of this that you should preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and prepare a baking sheet with parchment paper. I have not done the baking sheet yet because I don't have a lot of room for all of this, so we'll do that in just a few minutes. But you want to incorporate all of these. It's better if you have a whisk. I only have so many whisks, and my whisk is currently dirty. So you're going to use a spatula in a minute anyway to incorporate your pumpkin and butter mixture from the stove into your dry ingredients. Okay, so there's that, and now we are going to take our pumpkin and butter mixture here, and we are going to pour that into our dry ingredients. Just like that. Don't want to set that on the table. And then we are going to stir this together. Now, I do also want to note that if you find a shortbread recipe that you really like and you want to do it, but you are gluten sensitive, gluten intolerant, celiacs, whatever, it's very easy to fix that. You can substitute 1-to-1 almond flour with regular all-purpose flour. So that is always good to know. If you have a nut allergy, then check the ingredients on your standard gluten-free flour blends and make sure that there's nothing in there that's going to harm you. But gluten-free flour blends also are a 1-to-1 with regular flour. Okay, all of this is combining together just nicely. So I need to fetch some parchment and all of that, so I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll this dough out between 2 pieces of parchment paper till it's approximately 1/4 inch thick. So I have my 1/4 inch rolling pin here, and I'm just gonna, I'm very limited on room, so I'm gonna have to turn the dough as I roll it to get it into shapes that are, workable. This recipe makes about 40 small cookies. So, you know, that's good information to have if you're planning a party, so to speak. Okay. So my dough appears to be a 1/4 inch thick at this point. My parchment paper no longer wishes to stick, but that's okay. I'll give it one more roll. Bad idea. Didn't realize I wasn't on the table. Okay, so I will give it a roll this way to make sure, and we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this into the refrigerator for about 5 minutes while I prep up the other stuff that I need for getting this into the oven and all of that. So 5 minutes in the refrigerator, or if you have one, a chiller, and then it's ready to cut and put into the oven. As per normal, it is really freaking hot here. We're actually under a heat advisory this week. Isn't that fantastic? I'm dying out here. So stay hydrated, everybody. I'm gonna drink my water. All right, so we had this in the refrigerator / chiller for 5 minutes. Hold on to your parchment paper because you're gonna need it as you cut and remove pieces. So what you're gonna do is you are going to cut about 1 to 1.5 inch rounds out of your dough, and you're going to then put those onto a prepared baking sheet. Once you have your rounds cut, you can take all of this part that isn't cut and roll it back out to the same thickness, 1/4 inch thickness, and cut out some more rounds. This recipe should yield approximately 30 to 40 cookies. I have a feeling that mine is not going to yield that many because this is the smallest cutter I have, so I'm limited by cookie cutters. And that looks like about all I can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel all of this away and get these ones onto a tray, and then I'm going to make as many as I can with the dough that I have, and then we're going to pop them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes and then let them cool completely, and I'll come back and show you how to do the chocolate drizzle that goes on them, because chocolate is really good with pumpkin and I have been craving chocolate lately, so we're going to make some chocolate stuff. And yeah, so we'll see you in a few. All right, so I've got 2 trays that probably could have just been 1 tray of shortbread. I'm going to put it into my preheated 350-degree oven. I know my oven says 400 degrees, but we've been over this. If you're new to the channel, my oven really sucks. It's about 50 degrees off, and we found this out by trying to make chicken Kiev. Fortunately, we didn't get sick, but it took us about 3 hours to make it because we didn't know that our oven was so far off. So, a good thing to have is, not that you can see it, this right here is a thermometer, an oven-safe thermometer, so it tells me what my oven is at. And it is definitely at 350 degrees. So we're going to put these into the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. And we'll be back to talk about the chocolate drizzle that goes over it. Okay, while I'm waiting for the cookies to finish baking, first of all, super warm. Second of all, the temperature actually does matter. I don't anticipate these cookies turning out the best in the world because you really do need to keep shortbread cold. The dough needs to really be nice and cold when you're working with it, but that's impossible in this area apparently at this time of year. I keep really wanting to dress for fall weather, but fall weather keeps having other plans for me. I love sweaters, and I don't get to wear sweaters because it's always like 90 degrees. So anyway, I was just going to talk a little bit about the chocolate that you want to use. So you want to use semi-sweet baking chocolate. This brand is Signature Select, which you get at Vaughn's, and this is pretty cool. It's got maltitol, which is a sweetener, and this one uses whole milk powder, which adds a trivial amount of sugar to it. When all is said and done, this is 9 total grams of carbs, with 7 grams of that being sugar alcohol. So it is a good low-carb option if that's what you're looking for. This one, Lily's brand, is sweetened with stevia. Stevia is a natural sweetener. Actually, before I moved, 2 moves ago, I actually grew my own stevia to powder, to dehydrate and powder to make my own sweetener. I can't really do that here because I have no growing space and I'm ADHD and totally forget to water plants. I'm not a very good garden witch, but you know, I try. So the difference in the two of these is minimal, because this one is 8 grams of carbohydrates, 5 of which are dietary fiber and 3 of which are erythritol. So this is going to yield you a 0 net carb sweetener, basically. Actually, probably 1 gram net carb or something like that. So it's probably preferable if you are doing like a true keto diet where you're trying to maintain 20 grams of carbohydrates or fewer. If you're moving into the maintenance phase, you can really go whichever way you want. And if you're not doing low carb at all, why are you watching this video? No, I'm just kidding. If you're not doing low carb at all, you can obviously just use regular semi-sweet baking chocolate and regular sugar and all of that stuff, regular flour if you're not otherwise unable to do so. So I just wanted to break in with that really fast. You're gonna take your cookies out of the oven and cool them for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll be back and we'll talk about how to make our chocolate drizzle, our chocolate drizzle for on top of our pumpkin shortbread. Okay, so I have taken the cookies out. Those need to cool on the trays for about 20 minutes or so. In the meantime, I'm going to make the chocolate drizzle. So I have about 1/3 of a cup of the semi-sweet morsels in here. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of coconut oil. What's funny is this isn't the liquid kind of coconut oil. It's actually solid. So that should tell you about how hot it is here. I'm gonna stir this around. I don't necessarily have to. I'm doing this in a microwave safe dish. It's a Pyrex measuring cup. And I set that there. And then this is going to go into the microwave on medium for about 30 seconds. So for me, that's going to be 30 seconds at power level 5. And then we're going to take that out and stir it and continue in 15-second intervals until it is melted and all of that like that there. So I'll be back in just a little bit. All right, my clicker is misbehaving. So now is the time to do our chocolate drizzle. So you put in your 1/3 of a cup of your chocolate morsels and your teaspoon of vegetable oil, coconut oil, oil of choice. And then what you're gonna do is you are either going to use a spoon and drizzle it over your cookies, or you can transfer it to a baggie and snip a little bit of the tip off and squeeze it out like a piping bag. I don't have any luck doing that with these. I make a bigger mess than it's worth. So I'm just gonna use the spoon here, and the way I'm gonna do this is pretty much just in a very not fancy way drizzle my chocolate. The chocolate itself will take about an hour to harden unless you decide to put it in the refrigerator, in which case it's pretty instant. You can tell I don't do this a lot. Like, I'm sure literally everybody watching this is like, oh my gosh, she needs to like watch British baking show or something like that. I do, but I'm just not that talented. So, and this will be the one that I eat. So I have another tray of these to do, but that's basically how you do it with a spoon. So let's go ahead and pop this one into Das mouth and see what it tastes like. Even though the chocolate isn't hardened yet, I'm okay with that. Bit my lip. I'm trying to decide what I think of these. They're okay. I'm gonna have to play with the recipe a little bit personally because I don't like the mouthfeel that I get from it. Ironically, I did not use coconut flour, but it has that coconut feel to me. So I probably just need to play with some ratios a little bit, maybe add a bit more pumpkin puree than what I did. And I don't know, I just feel like it's missing something. There's not enough of something in it. But that's okay. You go ahead and give it a try and let me know how it turns out for you, because hey, who knows? Maybe it's just the fact that I'm in Southern California and it's hot all the time, and shortbread really does need that chill period. I probably should have modified the recipe, and instead of just sticking it in the refrigerator for 5 minutes, I probably should have left it in there for 25 to 30 minutes to make sure that it was nice and cold, because it was seeping out moisture as I was rolling it out and everything, and that might have affected the way that they taste to me personally. Again, these are not bad. These will get consumed, but not all in one sitting, but they will get consumed. It's just that the mouthfeel is kind of odd to me. But it's not, like I said, it's not that big a deal. They're still tasty. Go ahead and play with it. Let me know in the comments how it works for you, because again, it might have to do with the fact that the ocean is literally 2 blocks that way. So I'm like very close to sea level. It might have to do with the fact that it's, I don't know, like 9,000 degrees in this kitchen. It might have to do with the fact that I might not have gotten all of the puree, like all the moisture out of the puree when I did it. There's a whole bunch of different factors. So I would love to hear how it turns out for you. So if you liked the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, go ahead and give me the thumbs down. That's perfectly fine. Just leave a comment either way and let me know what you thought, what you thought, what worked, what didn't work, any questions you might have that I may or may not have the answer to. We'll see. And other than that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you ring the notification bell so you know when these videos come out. And if you're feeling particularly interested, head on over to Patreon and you know, see if you can toss me some love over there. A lot of the posts that I make on my blog are also posted to Patreon, but there are some secret videos and blog posts just for certain tiers of my patrons. So, and there is a Discord channel that you automatically get to join once you are a patron of mine, and you can give me feedback and you can talk with me about all the different things that we're doing on this channel, things that you might be interested in seeing, things you'd like to see again, maybe redone differently, whatever. Feedback, it's always nice. Plus you get to talk to me, and I'm a talker, so you know, good stuff there. I'm also a listener, so I mean, you know, it all works out. But we'll see you next time here on Kitchen Witchery and Other Spells.